Distinguished audience, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Khadija Ihsan. I am a journalist and an anchor at Median TV, which is a Moroccan TV with an African orientation. And I'm very glad to be here with you for this third and last day of the World Summit Power to Axis in this beautiful venue in Marrakesh, which happens to be my city. Actually, I grew up here in Marrakesh, so I'm emotionally very, very happy to be here. I believe that those past 2 days were hectic, but were extremely enriching in exchanging ideas, but also, as a matter of fact, exposing all the challenges, but also opportunities. So I recommend that you energize yourself, speaking of energy today, so that we take the full advantages of the two sessions that will happen today. Strategic sessions will take place. The first one on building hydrogen oasis, and the second, the very crucial Power to X funding and regulations, which happen to be the backbone of this industry and this power. Today, I am a Moroccan and I'm African. I'm really proud. I'm proud because a couple of decades, we couldn't imagine that this could happen, that we could issue such challenges on an African soil. And I mean, you all know that there are huge changes in the economics of energy. The sharp cost reduction of solar and wind power, coupled with the recent dramatic price increases in gas and oil. And the way to bring gas prices down is to stop depending on gas through, of course, renewable energies and sources. Our success depends on our willingness to undertake this journey together as one and to complete it within few years. Once again, we have an opportunity, a huge opportunity, and this summit is one part of this opportunity to take a giant leap for humankind. Today, I'm proud, but I'm also eager to see Morocco on the map of energy industry. We're exporting electric cars, so why not exporting green electricity to our neighbors? Morocco has succeeded, as a matter of fact, in building a strong, world-renowned automotive ecosystem. Why not doing the same for an ecosystem dedicated to renewable energy, which is a prerequisite to H2, hydrogen. So, as I just mentioned, and the geopolitical context is just putting in front of us a reality. We have to stop our dependence on carbon-based fuels. And this goal is achievable, affordable, and of course transformative, but it is a challenge to all Moroccans. I'm speaking not for Moroccans, but as a Moroccan in every walk of life. It is important to our political leaders, entrepreneurs, innovators, every engineers and every citizen to take this challenge and make things change. However, when it comes to hydrogen, and I was attending, unfortunately, I couldn't be here with you since day one, but I was attending a session yesterday, and I felt that there are some big players actually who are very careful when it comes to hydrogen industry. So for those, it's very important to attend the first session of this third day of the World Summit for PTX as participants, and distinguished panelists will share their experiences in order to be risk the emergence of new integrated hydrogen projects in support of their country's policy priorities. So hydrogen market in hydrogen valleys, or Oasis, as these were actually the center of livelihood and of populations throughout centuries through this region of Sahara and MENA as global. Well, so we need maybe to wake up, to focus, and I need your attention, ladies and gentlemen, to start our 8th session of this World Summit, Power to X, and we will start it right now. Building hydrogen oasis. The moderator of this session is Tariq Haman. He's the managing director, development at Mazen, and I asked for a round of applause to Mr. Haman. Good morning.
Good morning, Khadija. Thank you very much.
So you have this responsibility to energize the conference room, just as I tried, but I believe that you're better. You work in energy field anyways.
I will try to do my best. Thank you very much.
So yes, Tariq, so you will be asking questions in few. Shall I ask one? Because I'm a journalist. Like,
please go ahead.
It's something I need to do, like in my everyday life.
Feel free.
So while attending the session yesterday, a representative of Mazen, I won't tell names, but I mean everybody who attended the session know his name, showed really a careful approach while speaking about the hydrogen industry and power. Why? From your stance? What's your scope actually about hydrogen?
I'm not having the same lecture of what you understand from his intervention.
Yes.
But for me and for Mazen, it's clear that hydrogen and green hydrogen will be a key element on the energy transition. And in Morocco, particularly, we have all ingredients to be one of the leaders on this field. And actually, we already start developing project on this area, different scale of project. Pilot project, but also large scale. And during this session, we are going to develop and explain what is going on the field. And for sure, you are going to change your opinion on what is on the field now.
On Mazen's approach towards green hydrogen, right?
Exactly, sure.
Well, I'll be attending there. I wish you a great session, Tariq.
Thanks, Khadija.
Thank you.
Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends, distinguished panelists, it's my pleasure to be the moderator of this 8th session of the World PTX Summit. This session is dedicated to a new concept of building green hydrogen oasis. Maybe a few words about myself and Mazen before to start the. I'm managing director with Mazen, in charge of development, so covering all aspects of development, of course, including green hydrogen. And myself also, I did my energy transition because I started my career on working on fossil oil generation, clean coal, gas, and for last decade, for last 10 years, more focusing on energy, green energy. So personally, I believe on the transition, and I'm trying to show the path on this energy transition. So I will ask the panelists to join the main chair here. We have actually 10 panelists from different organizations covering different aspect, public sector, international organization, but also private developers. And I think we have 10 panelists today, so quite large session, and 3 of them will be with us virtually through Teams, and the other here present with us. So I will ask Madame Yusra Mzah, project manager in charge of the region, MENA region and Africa, to join us from CEA. Madame Yasmina Belmasoud, strategy and business development manager with Mazen, my colleague. Anna Rovzar, head of international partnership from Res4U for Africa. Mr. Abdeslam Ababou, president and CEO of RedMed Capital. Mr. Jaco Boiler, sales director from Proton Ventures. And Mr. Morad Keina, general director of the Regional Center of Investment of the region Kulmim Wadnoun. And we have also with us virtually Barbara Jinks. She is a program officer in charge of green gas delivery from IRENA. She is with us virtually from Bonn. Hi, Barbara. We have also Dr. Ralph Varshboon. He is a doctor in the Institute for Physics and ex-CEO of the famous Fraunhofer Institute. Hi, Mr. Ralph. And we have also Luis Fernandez, project administrator with UNIDO. Hi, Luis. So we, as was introduced by Khadija, the idea of this session is to develop from a large perspective into what can be implemented on the field, the way and the idea behind the building of hydrogen oasis. So as a clean sign of a growing and maturing hydrogen market, the hydrogen valley, or the local interpretation of this concept, hydrogen oasis, have started to emerge all around the world. This concept aims to enable the emergence of a locally integrated hydrogen ecosystem for climate change mitigation, but also for the development of economical and social aspect in the region. Hydrogen oasis will be a platform spread across defined geographic area and covering a substantial part of the value chain, starting from the green energy production, the transformation of this energy into green hydrogen, its storage, the transportation till the end use locally in various economical sector, industry, transportation, mobility, and the use also for the energy production and electricity. So the aim is to gather in one region projects, developers, policymakers, and hydrogen industry alike. They're really advancing the further development of a new hydrogen economy and ultimately the green energy transition. So I propose to start with Madame Barbara Jinks, the project officer in charge of green gas and delivery with IRENA. So Barbara, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Let me share my screen. So bonjour and salam from a very rainy Bonn. And as you can probably hear from my voice, I have got COVID, which is the only reason I'm not with you, and I'm very disappointed not to be with you. So can you hear me okay? Tariq, is everything okay? And
yeah,
can
perfect.
You
we hear you very well, and we can see also the presentation. Thanks,
Great.
thanks for being
So,
with us virtually, even with this.
Yeah.
We hope that you are going to recover.
Yeah,
completely.
I am. I'm just not allowed to travel yet. So a huge thank you to the World PTX Summit for inviting Irina to speak, and for Irison earlier, for Badr Ekin, and now for Samir Rashid to include us, and Tariq for including us in this session. Irina absolutely supports the MENA region, in particular Morocco. We have an MOU, and we're doing lots of great work on the increase of renewable energy in Morocco and the area. So I really wanted to, in fact, the lead-in question from the introduction from the lady was perfect. If we're questioning the amazing swell that we see towards more hydrogen, Irina supports that. We really need hydrogen to meet those hard to decarbonize areas. And you can see from the chart here that we really need to move all power to X from a niche industry to mainstream, and pretty soon. There are estimates from many academia and Irina, and we estimate that hydrogen and its derivatives are needed for between 12 and 22% of final energy demand. And you can see where it's needed. So the green box, where you cannot electrify, you have applied energy efficiency measures, and other direct electrification you can't use. And it is chemicals, refineries, heavy shipping, heavy industry, aviation, and some heating applications, and some buildings. So we see a strong need. Again, there's a convergence of how much do we need. It's about 600 to 800 million tons by 2050. And again, there's a general agreement that about a quarter is needed for heavy transport, but 3/4 of hydrogen and the derivatives are really needed for industry and feedstock. And the task for us is that policy makers need to understand this well and apply for each country. Is hydrogen applicable in your country? And it's not always applicable, and it's certainly not the one solution, it's just a part. We estimate about 12% of the solution, and there are other solutions. So how are we doing? We've been talking about this for about 5-6 years in all seriousness. How are we doing? We recently tracked SDG 7, the UN Sustainable Development Goal towards renewable, affordable, clean energy for all. And we're not tracking so well. You can see the indicator there that in terms of increasing renewables was the largest increase last year in new energy. Energy efficiency, we're failing to apply energy efficiency measures. Electrification of end use, we're below target. Hydrogen below target, and CCS and bio CCS, we're not developing those industries enough. And an example on the right is we see that to reach the targets that we are all talking about, we should have 16 gigawatts of electrolysis by 2024. Last year we had 0.5. So we're not tracking fast enough. We know what we've got to do, we're not doing it. One of the key things, of course, to the uptake of a new industry is it cost competitive with alternatives, in particular with the existing market? And so we've done deep dives into the cost tracking of renewable ammonia and renewable green hydrogen. And you can see the charts here that certainly by 2050, both of them are should be absolutely cost competitive with alternatives and fossil fuel alternatives, in particular green hydrogen cost competitive by 2030. That was even before the gas price hike and the other dynamics of the Ukraine invasion. We estimate that the ammonia spot price, it's currently over 1,000, and it should go to about 1/3 of that. And actually in the best locations at the moment, renewable ammonia would be cost competitive already. For ammonia, of course, the cost is determined by the green hydrogen And the cost of the green hydrogen is determined by the renewable electricity cost. And that is coming down constantly. And we estimate, as per solar, that these new technologies would decrease in cost by about 80% in the mid to longer term. We see positive signs in hydrogen trade in terms of agreements and announcements, and also country strategies. And you can see on the left the expected trade routes. They're very regional. We conducted a survey of our 168 countries that are our members, and the expectation is that 30% of hydrogen that's produced will be traded across borders. It's mostly regional. You can see on the map on the left that it's quite regional. And of course, the MENA region with Europe is one of the most busy. The results showed that there's a 50-50 split between pipelines and ships. Of course, cross borders, it's cheaper and more efficient to transport hydrogen by pipeline. But of course, we need to transport it by ship over longer distances. The pipelines will be mostly repurposed. That's an amazing opportunity that we've got around the world. But this also gives energy security in parallel to decarbonisation. It's an extra bonus. It also, the renewable energy world is more diverse, more equal opportunities for women, offers economic development. And 2 years ago, we did a study that showed that if a government invests in green energy, it will receive between 4 and 7 times revenue from that, due to jobs, and less environmental issues, less health issues, and that it makes good business sense. In terms of production, the technical potential for cheaper hydrogen under 1.5 dollars per kilo at the moment, the largest potential is in sub-Saharan Africa and the MENA region. And you can see also in terms of transporting hydrogen as ammonia, which we foresee as the main shipped commodity, you can see that there's already a global coverage of ammonia loading and unloading facilities that can be used. So we see positive signs there, and we see activity. One of the key things, of course, is the enabling measures to allow hydrogen to be traded, to be used, to allow carbon accounting. How do you know what your carbon footprint is? How do you know what you're buying? Is it renewable or not? So we're conducting a global survey at the moment of all the hydrogen certification schemes around the world. There's 15, 9 are in place or existing, and there are 6 emerging ones. And you can see, so from the left to right, that's a timeline. You can see that there's more have been developed over the last few years. And you can also see at the top line is a carbon footprint of 1 kilo CO2 equivalent per kilo hydrogen produced. And the bottom is 4.9. So the Chinese scheme will certify up to 4.9 kilos. And the Green Hydrogen Organization proposes a standard which says that green hydrogen should be no more than 1.0. And this is where we get into the world of, is it green? Is it clean? Where do the colors fit in? What is the carbon footprint? There's a mix of criteria in these schemes. As you can see, there's a mix of thresholds. A couple of the schemes give the certificate and the carbon footprint to the point of use, and the others are the point of production. Some of them require additionality for the renewable electricity, others don't. 3 of them, as you can see at the bottom, don't have a carbon footprint on the certificate. So we're looking at what is needed to harmonize these different schemes, what's needed to go on top so that these can be recognized and harmonized with each other. So that's ongoing. We are helping the G7 countries at the moment look at this and look at the enabling measures and what they can do. And we're doing this jointly with RMI and IPHE and Hydrogen Council. And it's a truly global study and effort. Very briefly, we also track what's happening in terms of standards. There are over 120 international hydrogen standards. There is even one under the ISO for production of hydrogen from electrolysis. Most references in standards and norms are for safety during installation and gas cylinder design. 50% of the standards that we see were only developed in the last 5 years, and there's 44 new standards. This is international standards in development. 64, and you can see from the pie chart, 64% of the standards cover hydrogen usage and 40% are for transport sector, for fuel cells and hydrogen as a fuel. So things are developing. We would say not fast enough, but they are developing. It's all about collaboration. The most important thing is we have the technical know-how, we have the we know what the models are for financing, for policy, for support, but are we doing it in the most efficient way, and are we doing it fast enough? And something that IRENA does as part of its mandate is talk to all the global initiatives that look at hydrogen, and of course to our 168 countries, and we work very collaboratively. And you can see here's a quick snapshot of the 22 global initiatives that are all working on green hydrogen, and we are involved with all of them, and we liaise and we avoid double up, and we try and take a leverage from each other's strengths. That's a very important role, and that's what I guess that's what we're doing at the PTX Summit. We're learning from each other, and we're forming relationships and keep talking. And just to say that there's a lot of information on the IRENA website for you to get much more detail from what I've said. You can see here that we look at supply and demand and trade and cross-cutting issues. And here's just an example of all the work that we do. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and if you want to contact me via the IRENA website, happy to help you with more information. So thank you, Tariq. That was a very quick overview of how we see the world and how what still needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Barbara, for this great presentation and overview of the development of green hydrogen worldwide. So, I mean, we are going to face a very important challenge on the green hydrogen development, which is the time, and also in this session, because we have 10 distinguishable panelists. But of course, we have a limited time, so we are trying to focus and to respect the time allowed to each presentation. 5-6 minutes, please don't exceed it. So I will ask Anna Rovzar, Head of International Partnership, to make its presentation, because she had a small constraint. Yes, please take a place on the. We change a little bit the order. I had a small constraint.
Thank you very much, Tarek, for giving me the floor, and it's a great pleasure to be here today with you all. Day 3, of course, of a most interesting conference. Huge thanks to the organizers, to IDES, and of course for having invited Rest for Africa Foundation to be here today. And congratulations, of course, for what is the culmination of 3 days of very insightful discussions, and most of all, I think, a setting of a point of where Morocco stands today within its energy strategy and transition. Great pleasure to be here with all these distinguished colleagues to mark what can only be seen and considered as another step change in Morocco's energy strategy. Rest for Africa Foundation, I'll share a couple of words just to phrase here, but has actually celebrated its 10th anniversary this year. And we started our activities in Morocco 10 years ago. The only conclusion that can be taken from that is just how much the country never ceases to amaze, and that this is only the beginning of, I think, another step change when it comes to the next step in the energy transition also for Africa. We're talking about building hydrogen oasis, and from Rest for Africa's perspective, we look at this from the Pan-African perspective. We have had many messages in these past few days. I'd like to amplify maybe just a few of them, at least that stood out for us, especially as we look at wider Africa, at the wider African angle when it comes to green hydrogen. From what angle do we come? Essentially, we are a association that is based in Rome, but has many members that back us up. And we have essentially one aim in common, which is to create enabling environments for renewable energy and clean energy investments across Africa. We do this from a just energy transitions perspective. And the member network that we gather actually sets that apart, because it gathers a lot of private sector from across the clean energy technology value chain, whether it is IPPs, whether it's manufacturers, or whether it's banks, consultancies, academia, NGOs. Why do I stress this point? It's because when we have as a red thread, le fil rouge, if you will, the necessity to mobilize investments, it's important to have all of these different angles from all these players involved. This is a story of many moving parts. And if the past 10 years have taught us anything, it's that we need to be discussing, we need to be having all these angles into account if we want to drive the transition to where we're going ahead, to keep the eye on the ball, let's say, the 2050 decarbonization strategies from around the world. And that's precisely what I think we're doing in Marrakesh today. Where we come from is essentially, we started looking at North Africa specifically. Again, Morocco for us, hugely important country that has set the tone, has set an example in so many ways, as we then proceeded to look at Sub-Saharan Africa as well. So we have a matrix structure where we look at countries, what are the most important topics at the time to focus on, because every country, every context is of course different, and where do we go on those topics together with local partners. That's enough about Rest for Africa, I think, for now, because that's not what we're here to discuss, of course. We're here to discuss about green hydrogen and these Oasis figures that, of course, Tarek was mentioning. Now, from all the discussions here, my main takeaway is just how much green hydrogen is now on the focus of being a key puzzle piece, a key element in any energy transition strategy, because of decarbonization purposes, because of the need to industrialize and grow, and because of energy security, as we were all very much reminded in this past year. This has also taken a focus for Africa now. Green hydrogen is a global energy transition story, but it also is now increasingly being featured in narratives and talks about what to do with Africa's energy transition strategy, which of course needs to be taken into account its circumstances, its particularities. In that sense, this year, again, I said we're 10 years, we made an analysis of essentially what has happened in the past decade. We did this in this report that has come out. I will not bore you with the details of it, but the main lesson that stands out is just how much of a success story renewables have been in this past 10 years. And that makes you wonder what's next in the coming decade. Green hydrogen is clearly the answer here. And it's important for Africa to discuss, because from what I've mentioned, what I've seen in these discussions from Wednesday, Thursday, and today, is that we are looking at this from an African perspective because of the renewable energy potential, of course, which is now not just wide, we know of the resources, we know them by heart, but because this is now a low carbon, low cost electricity production that is possible. We know that there is a need to diversify this energy transition in hard to abate sectors, that this needs to come together so that as African countries devise and think out their energy and their infrastructure of the future, that we leapfrog towards maybe issues that were faced by other countries before. And of course, the support of carbon targets. Africa has absolute negligible contribution to the problem that we're facing of climate change, but it is planning to set decarbonization strategies for itself. 53 NDCs across the continent have been set at COP26. 12 African countries are committed to decarbonize their economies by mid-century. So this is featuring within their strategies as well. This is by no means new. The existing initiatives, I think that our colleague Barbara from IRENA just mentioned it. There's 22 existing global initiatives on hydrogen. We're seeing these pop up across the countries. We know that a lot of the countries are focusing on this right now from an Africa side. Morocco, of course, key country here. Egypt will follow shortly as it's made its announcements towards COP27, and Namibia, South Africa following suit. And the opportunities and the challenges are really one to keep in mind as we navigate forward. We know that we can decarbonize hard to abate sectors. This is interest number 1, 2, and 3 of green hydrogen, of course, but also we can improve this energy security and reduce dependencies on imports of energy, grow a hydrogen economy in an Oasis way, beyond the valley style, of course. We know that this can fast track industrialization and then create the jobs of tomorrow that we need to see. This also means that we need to take into account connecting production and consumption pools where it happens with the proximity that these countries have, looking at infrastructure that already exists in order to amplify where we need to build further on a country basis, prioritizing the renewable energy investments in order to make sure there is additionality and all energy transition targets are being met, and keeping care, of course, of the environmental and safety aspects of green hydrogen going forward. How do we get there? Again, my takeaways from all the discussions here is this is a long list of what needs to happen. But let's say if we keep it on a high level basis, if we try to summarize somehow, for me, a couple of things stood out. One is that we need to really look at this green hydrogen strategy as a key element of any energy transition strategy going forward. So it is part of a comprehensive and a holistic pathway with a prominent role that really meets this decarbonize, industrialize, and security targets, the trilemma, of course. The creating an ecosystem needs to make sure that we have this supply chain, the additional logistical value chains around the ecosystem. So we really need to build it out towards a wider than energy only sectoral story. We need to foster the technical skills, the knowledge of the jobs of tomorrow. These need to be thought of today because these jobs might not exist today. It's something that Rescue Africa works on a lot, but need to create the educational, the training, the competences also in terms of the private sector perspective. What are those jobs? What are those skills that are going to be needed in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, and beyond? The enabling of multi-stakeholder partnerships, of course, again, a big piece of, it's my excitement, the big piece of a lot of moving parts. They all need to be working together because this is a local story, a regional, an ecosystem story, a national story, regional, global. We have all the concentric circles, so everyone needs to be connected around that. And I think of what we're doing here today is an example of how to do that. And last but not least, prioritize, of course, the environmental and safety impacts so that we know that we are using resources in the best possible way and doing this in a safe way to ensure longevity. We have been doing this type of work focusing on Morocco. We published a study this year on the potentials of the Moroccan green hydrogen potential. We've looked at the energy system scene. Where are the potential benefits? Where can we overcome some of the challenges? And we've put this in a study, another study that I will not, of course, bore you with the details now. They are on our website, of course, but we found that there are a couple of barriers that can be overcome in the sense of what has already been done in other countries, such as overcoming pricing gaps, making sure that certification and labeling is absolutely prioritized, again, like Barbara said, and let's say keeping prioritizing this on the hard to abate sectors. I'd like to stop here because I think that we have heard many messages already, but in this sense, when we look at the 10 years back of everything that has happened on renewables front, much has been proven. And I think that if we stood back here 10 years ago, we could not have imagined everything that was going to come. I think this is another period in time for green hydrogen to make those same conclusions looking forward. We'll see, of course, what happens when we look back in the next decade, but I think that much is going to happen in this space, and we're absolutely delighted to be a part of this. So thank you again for your time and for having invited us here.
Thank you, Anna, for this great presentation. So actually, after an, let's say, worldwide holistic overview from Barbara, more focus from on Africa from Anna, we are now coming back to a virtual presentation from Dr. Ralph Verschboon to have a more specific overview from the research and development area. So, Dr. Verschboon, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tariq. Can you hear me?
Perfect. We hear you
Great, thank you. So thank you very much for the invitation. I have the same problem, a little bit different than Barbara. I have just a simple cold, but everybody believes I have a corona. So I thought it's not a good idea to take a plane to Morocco. But I'm personally very happy to be invited. As you can see, I'm at the advisory board of Erasin, and I will come to Morocco as soon as possible. I will today present you an example. So from the other point of view, we just saw on essentially the top view. I will show you how we in a regional oasis or valley, if you want, developed hydrogen. And I was one of the founding members, now honorary member of HYPOS, which is a green hydrogen network. And I just want to tell you a little bit how we went from gray hydrogen to green hydrogen over the last 10 years. So we started this network with I think we were 5 persons heading this vision in 2012 already, to establish a nationwide green hydrogen economy. We called it HYPOS, and you can see the region. This is Germany, and you can see the HYPOS region was we call Central Germany. That's a historical term. And the idea was really because we have already a very strong gray hydrogen network. I would call it Oasis. So we have 150 kilometers of pipelines historically for providing a network between the different chemical sites in East Germany. We have 3 billion of norm cubic meters of working gas volume of natural gas possibilities. And currently already today, we use 3.6 billion norm cubic meters every year of gray hydrogen. So this was the idea to change really from gray hydrogen to green hydrogen. And this idea was born in 2012. Now, 10 years later, I'd like to give you a little update, what phases we were facing and what might be interesting for Morocco. So we have essentially determined 3 phases. The first was really, which we just finalized. So we put a network together. As I mentioned, we started with 5 pioneers. Our network has now more than 160 members. We got from funding from the local government and the federal government to set up more than 30 R&D projects, so that people really and companies really understand what does it mean, what kind of business models are possible with hydrogen, what kind of competences I need. And we developed now last year a new strategy for the next term, the medium term, which means the implementation of the results, the development of the network, and then the application of national and regional hydrogen strategies. And the long-term 2032, we hope obviously that the hydrogen backbone, European hydrogen backbone is ready, and large-scale deployment of hydrogen technologies. Let me show what on the first phase and the second phase 2 slides. So here are the members. I jump over it. So in the first phase, really, we set it up a community, and I think that's very important for an oasis or a valley, if you want, to understand what are the critical issue, what are where our common business model, and really to set up the competences in the companies. We put this in chemical conversion, transport and storage, and utilization and distribution. We had about 30 projects with about more than 70 million euros total funding, and this just finished last year. So we have now really a good understanding of what is possible, what is not possible. Obviously, we had interdisciplinary projects on safety, very important when we bring hydrogen towards the customer. Safety is a very critical issue, and safety means also acceptance of hydrogen, which comes closer and closer to the population and is leaving the chemical park essentially. So that gave us a lot of insight, building up the competences. Now, in the next phase, we essentially said, okay, we need to get a step forward, and we developed a project here, what we call a Central German hydrogen pipeline. I call it a microgrid, where pioneers put themselves together. And we just finished a study how a microgrid could look like. And this is, for example, now a small microgrid which has been developed, where supply and demand have been essentially analyzed in this region from this 160 partners for really the deployment step. And we ended up with a microgrid of 339 kilometers, 13 pipeline segments, and investment about 500 million euros to set this up. And now, very important, we also estimated the regional hydrogen demand, which is 20 terawatt hours and what is really feasible. And you see here is hydrogen supply, what is regional feasible, is only 2 terawatt hours. So it's clear we need about to import in our region 90% of the hydrogen supply. And this is done currently, or this is initiated by the 2 pipelines, one's going to the hydrogen-ready LNG terminals, one in Rotterdam and one in Rostock. And this microgrid now fits very nicely to, and you see here the part of the hydrogen European backbone. On the left side, you see here's Morocco, where you are currently in, and then you know this plan, probably discussed about the European hydrogen backbone. And you see on the right side, essentially our region here, going to the new LNG terminal in Rostock, which will be hydrogen ready, organized by VNG and Ontras, and the other one going over a large steel manufacturer here in Salzgitter, then to Rotterdam. So there is a clear vision of how we do this, but it's really on the micro grid level, which is necessary to take really all the consumers, all the possible partners with us. So at the end, and you ask us the question, perhaps my personal view on your question, we have a region where the regional supply is smaller than the regional demand, and this perhaps a valley classically seen. And the nice thing about Morocco is that you probably regional supply will be much higher than regional demand, which is for me an oasis. So therefore, I'm very happy to collaborate further with the Moroccan strategies, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ralph, for this great presentation and of course the overview from Europe. We are coming back to a physical presentation from Yusra Zah. She's a project manager in charge of Africa and MENA region development with the CEA. So thank you, Yusra, and the floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Haman. Good morning, everybody. I'm very glad to be here in Morocco, and I want to thank the Erizane team for this invitation and congratulate them for the successful organization of this very important event. So as said, Mr. Haman, I work at the regional operational representation of the CEA. So for the one who do not have an idea about the CEA, it's the French Commission for atomic energy and alternative energies. So in my presentation, I will focus on the importance of North-South partnership for a low carbon future in general and for building hydrogen oasis in particular. So to start, how does this work? Okay. So to start, I want to highlight some important facts about energy transition. In fact, energy transition can be defined as the shift from a production logic to energy service logic. By giving an increased importance to the efficiency of energy, to renewable resources, and more generally to sustainable energy system. The new paradigm of energy transition is not only related to economic and technical aspects. More deeply, it's related to the design of the energy system. So it becomes necessary to move from the centralized model of energy system to a decentralized model of system that takes into account the real characteristics of the local context of the country. So the real question that we must try to answer nowadays is how to ensure, while preserving the environment, sustainable energy security that maintains growth and life standards while ensuring access to energy at affordable costs. In this context, hydrogen can be considered as a catalyst to energy transition. In fact, it allows a better integration of renewable resources better distribution of energy across sectors, and it contributes in decarbonizing the transport, building, and industry sectors. Aware of all these advantages of hydrogen, an increased number of countries in the MENA region started developing their national strategy of green hydrogen. Morocco leads the MENA region in this context, but we can also mention the example of Tunisia, Egypt, Oman, and other countries that are at different stage in progress of developing strategies and partnerships in terms of green hydrogen. What about Europe? So in July 2020, Europe has adopted a strategy based on intensifying the number of green hydrogen projects as a technology to achieve Europe zero emission by 2050. Europe leads the world in terms of the number of announced projects of green hydrogen. In its strategy of green hydrogen, Europe aims to promote cooperation with southern neighborhood partners and to establish a cooperation process on renewable hydrogen with African Union in the framework of the Africa-Europe Green Energy Initiative. I mentioned that 55% of all the green hydrogen announced projects are located in Europe, and aware that regional and international efforts are needed to achieve carbon neutrality, Europe believes that hydrogen will allows it to redefine its partnership with the neighborhood countries and regions. Now I come back to the CEA. The CEA is considered as a leader actor in terms of research, development, and innovation. It's a major actor in the national and European dynamics around hydrogen. The activities of CEA cover the whole hydrogen value chain, including hydrogen production, distribution, storage, transport, and all the applications related to this field. In order to strengthen its cooperations with the MENA region and with Africa countries, the regional operational representation of the CEA for the Southern Mediterranean, Middle East, and Africa was established in 2017 in Tunisia. The main mission of this representation is to facilitate the collaboration of CEA between CEA and partners in countries of the MENA region and Africa. The main field of activities in the regional operational representation are related to information communication technology, technology transfer innovation, as well as the application of nuclear energy to the health sector, and of course, energy, new energy technologies and renewable energies. That's why green hydrogen is considered as one of the most important fields that we try to develop. So in this slide, I present one example of possible collaboration with the CEA, and this type of collaboration interests a lot the CEA. Is the kind of implementing regional transfer technological platform with activities dealing with technology transfer and capacity building, such as setting training cycles, and also setting up collaborative project platform and demonstrators in R&D and innovation. Another aspect of collaboration may be the support of industrial partner in the territorial level, and also the realization of technical economic studies and life cycle analysis. Okay, that's all I have. If you have any question, this is my email, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Yusra. So I think that we need some applaud for all our panelists to repower ourselves in this morning. Now I will give the floor to my colleague, Yasmina Al-Msaoud, and she had a big responsibility to convince Khadija that Mazen is fully committed and believes on the development of green hydrogen and will be here to support. So please, Yasmina, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be with you today. Actually, the third day, and we are reaching the end of this summit. And we had very interesting debates, interesting announcements that they show that the dynamic is taking shape. But one of the key takeaways for Morocco, at least, is that we are going to be one of the cheapest destination of green hydrogen in the world. Between, according to IRENA, between 0.7 to 1.4 dollars per kilogram by 2050. That is the third cheapest country after China and Chile. But this is long-term horizons, and that can be reached sooner or later. But the point here is that there are several stages that need to be carried out before. And these stages, they follow actually the typical phases of the learning curve effect, in which as more knowledge and skills and competencies are accumulated over time, there will be a first initial stage that will need to trigger this market ramp up. And as technologies will become more and more mature, there will be a need of national strategies and policy priorities. And this is actually what we initiated in Morocco a decade ago with the renewable energy strategy, then by setting long-term vision for decarbonized economy, and finally concrete instruments to launch the dynamic of green hydrogen. In the next stage of market penetration of green hydrogen, we will still need more concrete policies. And these will include establishing certification schemes to guarantee the green origin of these molecules, at least at regional level, to enable their export, and tend gradually to harmonize them, or also developing different international norms and certificates and standards in order to facilitate the deployment of these technologies by the industry. Then developing reference projects in the best locations possible will help to master all the development, but also operational phases of green hydrogen projects and demonstrate their feasibility at scale. Because, and this is actually the approach that we applied for renewable energy more than a decade ago in Morocco, and in particular at Mazen, and what we are aiming to do now for green hydrogen. And in particular, Mazen started to work on green hydrogen more than 3 years ago, in addition to R&D studies. And we are working actually in initial studies and pre-development phases for a number of projects. The point here is that we have plenty of wind, plenty of solar, with some of the best onshore sites in the world that can exceed even 60% of capacity factor, and that will enable to quickly reduce the cost of hydrogen, as the electricity represents more than 2/3 of total cost of green hydrogen. We also have an important track record in the development of competitive large renewable energy projects that cumulate today almost 8 gigawatts between installed and under development projects. And what is important to say is that the track record helped us to master several skills and key competencies all along the value chain of renewable energy project development, including the exploration of the solar and wind resource, the qualification of the most suitable sites, the definition of the technical specifications that will orient the market players to offer the most suitable solutions, and also the phases of project development, operation, and maintenance. And if we add to this Morocco's extremely interesting positioning between the Mediterranean, the Atlantic, and the African space, its existing gas and electric infrastructures and interconnections, and its extensive coastline with several trading ports, some of them even under development, and important industrial activities that can gradually roll out to green hydrogen economy, we have definitely all the ingredients to be such an attractive destination. But all my previous arguments were mostly related to developing the supply side, and we also need to work in parallel in the demand side. And hydrogen Oasis, which is the theme of this session, may be the next stage for market penetration, because it will offer the possibility to integrate and cover more and more of the value chain from production to end use. And what is more interesting, that these mini green hydrogen economies, they will concentrate demand and therefore create scale. They will promote synergies between different potential applications and different sectors, ranging from transport, industry, up to energy markets. And hydrogen Oasis will also be able to improve projects' bankability. And finally, they have also the advantage of mutualizing common infrastructures. When we see in the world, there are more than 35 hydrogen valleys that have been identified, or better to say hydrogen ecosystems, that are currently showcasing technologies, solutions, and what is more important, sharing information on key learnings, on what have worked better and less. And Morocco has several regions where it can promote and develop such integrated systems, whether from north to the south of our territory. But to build this hydrogen oasis, attention must be paid in a number of challenges. The fact that we are talking about creating a joint approach, it requires to bring together committed parties, both public and private, to ensure that they will achieve a common goal and not only pursuing a sole individual commercial focus. Public support will still be needed to incentivize the demand side and accelerate the rollout, because at the end, for the off-takers and the industrials, it's a matter of opportunity cost. And then the projects within these oases, we need to identify potential off-takers that will be willing in the first stages to pay the premium cost of being the early adopters, and secure after that binding off-takers, especially for large projects that they need substantial upfront investments. And I am still talking about scales of hundreds of megawatts and not gigawatts. And another very important point is that these OSs need to gain the commitment, but also the acceptance of the different involved parties, and in particular of local population that need not only to get their natural ecosystems preserved, but at the same time to have some benefit from all the dynamic that will be created. These were like common challenges with existing hydrogen valleys that we are learning today, but there are also some specific ones to hydrogen oases, and in particular in the MENA region. The first one relates to the fact that water electrolysis process will need to be developed in hydric stressed environments. And for that, actually in Morocco, we have the solution is very clear. We all are convinced that we will need to desalinate seawater, and it is a must that is not so challenging to the extent that the fact that according to our studies, the cost of desalinating water won't exceed 2% of the total cost of producing hydrogen. Another challenge is that in our case, base renewable energy sites are not so close to consuming centers as it may be the case in some Northern Europe hydrogen valleys. And therefore it will be crucial to optimize the logistics constraints, and in particular those of storing and transporting the green molecule. And finally, it will be very important to accelerate the implementation of cross-border guarantees of origin schemes to trace and certify the green origin of green molecules in order to unlock exporting opportunities. Because as said before, Professor Ralph earlier in his presentation, one of the particularities of our region is that we will be mostly an exporting region where supply will be much higher than the demand. So by unlocking this international trade, we will also contribute at the same time to define the value of this future commodity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yasmina. So I think that it's clear from the presentation we had right now that green hydrogen is one of the key elements in the energy transition. It has its place, but of course there is many challenge to go through within the next years. One of them is the cost. We have to think big in order to optimize the cost of generation that makes this green hydrogen economically available in the nearest future. And for that, we have to manage two frames. Short-term one, by implementing pilot project and to dismantle that we can optimize the process in order to reach a great target in terms of technical aspect, in terms of also of cost. But in the meantime, we have to think big in order to supply what is requested on a mid-term, long-term perspective by developing large-scale project. And in this challenge, the idea of hydrogen valley or hydrogen oasis takes its place, because we need, in order to optimize, to set up and to develop large-scale project to reduce the cost. And also these areas has to take benefit of this large project that will request a very important piece of lands, of course, for the benefit of the population and the country that hosts these areas. So after this large overview, large perspective from worldwide, Africa and Morocco, we are now going to the lands, to the valley, and I will give the floor to Mr. Abdeslam Babu to present us what is ongoing on Morocco, and especially on one of the fields. We expect to have the first large-scale project on development, the region of Gurmi Moadnoun. Thanks, Mr. Abdeslam. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chimène. Warm and sincere thanks first of all to Irisen, the hydrogen cluster. Thank you for having organized this impressive conference, and also for the amazing work that has been delivered so far. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Allow me to say a few words about RedMed Capital, which is an independent investment bank operating through 4 subsidiaries. First one as a broker, Société de Bourse, in the stock exchange of Casablanca. The second asset in the asset management with 12 billion dirham under management, and including a portfolio of the major Moroccan pension fund, banks and insurance companies. The third, RedMed Private Equity, operating in the private equity, addressing Moroccan SMEs with a ticket between $3 and $9 million. The fourth, on the advisory services, RedMed Finance, that has been involved since 2008 in the development of major projects in our country in the renewable energy. I will switch to French. So I did the presentation in English, but I will switch to French. Ces 3 derniers jours, je pense que nous arrivons à une conclusion qui est claire, c'est que le Maroc dispose d'énormes atouts pour devenir un leader mondial dans le développement de l'hydrogène vert et ses différents dérivés, ammonia, e-méthanol et autres. Je rappellerai quelques éléments. Tout d'abord, le cadre national et réglementaire qui a été installé en 2008-2009, donc qui a permis le développement de grands projets. C'est un cadre réglementaire qui est moderne, qui est au meilleur standard et qui a une très grande proximité avec celui de nos partenaires européens, américains et autres. Le deuxième, c'est que le Maroc est un pays qui a une culture libérale. On a su accueillir des grands investisseurs, on a su accompagner des investisseurs qui soient nationaux et locaux dans le développement de grands projets. Et cette culture libérale nous permet de pouvoir donner les éléments et le contexte favorable pour le développement de ces grands projets. Le troisième, et c'est quelque chose qui est important, c'est qu'on n'est plus au stade du PowerPoint. Le Maroc, ça a été rappelé à notre collègue de Mazen, plus de 4000 mégawatts déjà installés, un gros pipe en cours. Donc, on a su développer des grands projets complexes dans les énergies renouvelables, la plus grande centrale thermosolaire au monde, le CSP de Goulzazet, mais aussi des gros projets d'infrastructure tels que Tangémet qui ont été développés de manière extrêmement rapide et de manière extrêmement compétitive. Ensuite, on a une administration aujourd'hui qui est convaincue de la nécessité d'accélérer cette transition énergétique en ligne avec la vision royale qui a été promulguée en 2008. Donc, on a cette administration qui est mobilisée pour pouvoir accompagner ces grands projets. Voilà, je vais orienter, comme l'a dit M. Hammen, ma présentation en donnant quelques éléments chiffrés et en me focalisant sur une région qu'on aime tous, qui est la région de Guelmim, Tantan. Je peux, avec ça que je... Merci. Merci beaucoup. Alors, pourquoi Guelmim Oued Noun est un lieu qui est propice au développement d'un oasis pour les énergies renouvelables? Tout d'abord, pour la première raison, c'est qu'elle dispose de ressources naturelles exceptionnelles. Vous les voyez dans cette carte, que ce soit au niveau éolien et solaire. Donc, on a aujourd'hui des ressources naturelles exceptionnelles dans cette région. Donc, plus de 8,5 mètres secondes pour l'éolien, des zones énormes. Nous avons un GHI de plus de 2000 km/h par mètre carré. Autre chose, dans cette région, il y a ces régions d'hydrogène vert ne vont pas être en compétition avec des projets d'énergie renouvelable qui ont été identifiés pour la stratégie nationale. Donc, c'est une zone aujourd'hui où les projets qui ont été identifiés ne sont pas en compétition avec des projets nationaux, ce qui est important. Ensuite, il y a une population très faible densité de la population, avec, par exemple, pour la province de Assazag, 2 habitants par kilomètre carré. Donc, on est vraiment dans une zone quasi désertique. Et autre chose, et c'est l'élément qui nous paraît le plus important, nous avons une administration, que ce soit au niveau de l'autorité ou que ce soit au niveau des élus, qui aujourd'hui est aguerrie pour accompagner le développement de ce projet à grande échelle. Et c'est un élément qui est extrêmement déterminant, pour le choix de cette région par de nombreux grands développeurs. Maintenant, je crois qu'on a tous compris que ça n'allait pas se faire du jour au lendemain, qu'on va adresser des challenges, des défis extrêmement importants qui nécessiteront un effort collectif qui sera énorme. Tout d'abord, au niveau des infrastructures. Nous devrons avoir cette capacité de développer des infrastructures de premier ordre, compétitifs, qui permettront, in fine, au développement de ces projets, d'avoir la molécule verte, une des molécules vertes les plus compétitives au monde. Bon, ça passera notamment par le développement d'un port, Pour donner quelques chiffres, si on parle d'un seul projet d'autour de 10 gigawatts, hein, on parlerait de 14 millions de tonnes d'équipements qui devront être acheminés vers les sites, une grande partie d'entre eux importés, j'espère le minimum, et qu'on pourra développer de l'industrie locale, mais on parle de 14 millions de tonnes qui devront être acheminées vers le site. Idem, par rapport à un projet de 10 gigas, on parlerait de 6 hectares remplis d'électrolyseurs. On parlerait de 6-7 hectares de stockage d'hydrogène vert. Donc, nous parlons d'infrastructures qui sont massives, hein, qui sont massives. Alors, la bonne chose par rapport à ce développement de ce type de projet, c'est que très probablement, les premiers projets qui démarreront dans 2025-2026. Donc, ça peut paraître loin, 3-4 ans, mais c'est aussi très, très court. Hein, c'est très, très court pour pouvoir mettre à disposition, construire, voilà, tout ce qui est nécessaire pour le développement de ces projets. Bien entendu, il faudra des signalisations et des connexions au réseau. Donc, vous imaginez, encore une fois, un seul projet, si on parle d'un seul projet de 15 gigawatts, ça représente 150% de la capacité totale qui est installée au Maroc. Donc, on parle de projets massifs, des investissements massifs, mais un seul projet, nous parlons aussi d'un investissement entre 20 et 25 milliards d'euros, donc c'est 15% du PIB marocain. Donc, il faut qu'on ait en tête ces ordres de grandeur et que nous passons à une autre échelle et que ça devra nécessiter une mobilisation importante. Une des clés du succès du développement de grands projets comme celui de Oasis a été la capacité du Maroc de fonctions alignées, coordonnées, que ce soit au niveau des autorités publiques, que ce soit au niveau des acteurs privés, que ce soit au niveau des institutionnels, d'être alignés autour du projet. Et ce type de projet nécessitera définitivement qu'il y ait une très grande coordination, un très grand alignement pour le bon développement de ce projet. Maintenant, ce type de projet ne peuvent pas se développer, et là, on arrive à la thématique de l'Oasis, sans que la population soit complète, sans que la population en bénéficie sur le court, moyen et long terme. C'est pour ça qu'il faudra que les différents développeurs proposent ce qu'on appelle un plan RSE ou un plan CSR qui soit massif. Massif, ce n'est pas des petites écoles de province. Nous devons parler d'hôpitaux. C'est une région aujourd'hui qui a besoin d'infrastructures sanitaires, de santé. Donc, nous pouvons penser à un grand CHU qui soit un CHU sur le plan régional, qui puisse aussi accueillir nos voisins subsahariens. Nous devons penser à des universités de premier plan spécialisées. Nous devons penser à des centres de formation qui devront aider cette population à avoir accès à du travail. Nous devons penser à des revenus en injectant de l'eau désalinisée dans l'agriculture et au niveau de la population. Encore une fois, si on veut parler de chiffres, un seul projet devrait produire à peu près 230 000 mètres cubes d'eau. Voilà, 10%, c'est 23 000 mètres cubes d'eau au service de la population pour son agriculture, pour son bien-être, voilà, pour sa santé. Donc, ces projets devront, pour leur pérennité, pour leur compétitivité, proposer des actions au bénéfice de la population, que ce soit sur le plan local, régional, mais aussi national, massif. Quelque chose de massif. En termes d'emploi, un seul projet, on parlerait de 30 000 emplois pendant la phase de construction. Si on a 3 projets, on parlerait donc de 90 000, près de 100 000, pour une population de 400 000 habitants. Donc, on parlerait de 25% de nouveaux emplois créés dans une région de Guinée. Bon, bien entendu, il y aura probablement des emplois qui seront créés dans des bassins industriels voisinants comme Agadir ou autres, mais nous parlons d'emplois importants, voilà, et qu'on espère être les plus qualifiés possibles. Voilà, donc ça résume ce que je viens de dire. C'est vraiment le triptyque. Une énergie compétitive verte permettra le développement de toute activité, parce que toute activité, pour qu'elle soit compétitive, a besoin d'une énergie verte ou grise qui soit compétitive. Si en plus elle est verte et qu'elle est compétitive, donc ça permettra aux industriels, voilà, d'exporter donc des produits décarbonés. L'eau, c'est un élément fondamental pour la population, pour l'agriculture, mais aussi pour aujourd'hui, des régions comme Guilmim ont souffert, sont victimes de la désertification. Il y a quelques dizaines, il y a 50, 60 ans, Guilmim était une région verte, agricole, qui exportait des produits agricoles. Aujourd'hui, elle a souffert de la désertification, du réchauffement climatique. Ce type de projet, en réinjectant de l'eau, en réinjectant de l'investissement, pourra combattre la désertification et pourquoi pas l'inverser si on peut se permettre de rêver. Et par rapport encore une fois, ces projets ne pourront pas réussir si la population locale, régionale, nationale n'y trouve pas son compte. Pour le cas spécifique de Guilmim, 400 000 habitants, une grande majorité de personnes âgées, parce qu'ils ne peuvent plus travailler, de femmes et d'enfants. Pourquoi? Parce que ce sont des régions qui exportent en fait des bras. Ce sont les maçons qu'on a à Rabat, Casablanca, Agadir, Marrakech, Paris ou autres. Donc c'est une région, ce sont des régions comme Oasis qui exportent des bras. Donc très peu d'hommes, tous les hommes qui ont encore un peu de force, ben, ils travaillent à l'extérieur de ces régions. Et j'ai eu un grand plaisir, avec nos amis de Mazen, de voir les impacts dont on a très peu parlé du projet solaire de Oasis, où on a vu des populations se réapproprier leur région, qui sont revenues avec beaucoup de fierté, soit pour travailler leur terre, soit pour travailler dans ce complexe ou dans un écosystème qui a été créé. Voilà, donc aujourd'hui, nous avons 3-4 ans avant le développement de ces grands projets à grande échelle. Ça peut paraître long, mais c'est très, très court pour créer les ingrédients pour que des régions comme Guilmim ou Ednen deviennent un vrai oasis, avec le bien-être, les revenus et une population en harmonie avec son environnement. Voilà, merci.
Merci beaucoup, Sebslam. Je pense que l'idée ou le concept de l'Oasis est en train de s'installer, la nécessité de voir grand pour le développement d'hydrogène, mais aussi tout en considérant les bénéfices que doivent en tirer les populations locales, le développement qui doit être généré par ces investissements massifs, à la fois localement, mais aussi au niveau donc, du pays qui les abritera, est un élément clé dans ces développements-là pour assurer sa durabilité. Parce que l'idée aussi derrière l'Oasis, c'est que c'est un havre de paix qui s'installe, qui est là pour durer et qu'on voit. C'est un écosystème fragile qu'il faut aussi préserver. Et donc après toute cette présentation, nous allons revenir sur une présentation virtuellement. So I will ask Mr. Luis Fernandez to join us for its presentation. So he is from UNIDO, and the floor is yours.
Thanking Irisen for the invitation and also congratulating them and their partners for the excellent organization of the event and the success that you're having. I'm very happy to be here. So I will quickly go with my presentation. I will not address most of the things that have been already addressed here. So just a commercial at the beginning, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization has as mandate to promote inclusive, sustainable industrial development in line with SDG 2, meaning, create and share prosperity, advancing economic competitiveness, and also safeguarding the environment. And we do this through technical cooperation and other kinds of functions, such as political advisory, and also convening and partnerships. And within the safeguarding of environment, and based on the information that our colleagues have shared today, particularly Barbara, we see also we see the great potential green hydrogen has to support not only decarbonization of industry, but also new pathways for industrialization. So last year, we launched a global program for green hydrogen in industry. It is currently supported by Austria, China, Germany, and Italy. And it aims to promote the application of green hydrogen in industry in developing countries and economies in transition. So as I was saying, the program foresees new pathways for industrial development as well as economic development. And what we are trying to do and support in a way is to overcome the challenges that have been already discussed, to see how we can work on policies, cost reduction, investments, and local skills. And then we see the potential this has, the green hydrogen can be one element that can drive new ways of industrializing a country, but it also, supports the enhancement of national security, because it push for renewables. So it also stimulates innovation and also grow for markets of energy technologies. Also, creates new jobs that can be considered green jobs as well. So very quickly about the program, it has two pillars. One is the global partnership, which is a platform that will serve as a way or a mechanism to have open policy dialogues and other kinds of dialogues as well. At the same time, we will do joint project development. We are currently working with IRSEN and in Morocco, doing a proposal for a GCF project on green steel. And then, of course, some awareness raising, capacity building activities. There will be a few from this second semester of the year, and then some knowledge products. There's some articles being published and some things being written. And then the technical cooperation part is where we will be developing country interventions, meaning specific projects where we will try to do some pilots on green hydrogen. And one element that we have considered here is the green hydrogen clusters, or Oasis, as you would like to see it. And then for this, we're also developing some technical guidelines. All this is being supported by the International Hydrogen Energy Center in China, in Beijing. So why clusters, or Oasis, as you call it? I mean, I think it's a very nice name that you have chosen, particularly regarding the water, the potential to provide some support regarding water stress if you use desalinated water. So why clusters? It's because it has the potential to, not only apply the green hydrogen within it, but also, support interconnection and utilize all the different resources in a better way. So we are basing this, and I will enter a little bit here on the details. Last year, we had in October an expert group meeting. I think Barbara participated, and we had several of the hydrogen valleys, hydrogen clusters right now, and we were discussing their models, and see how they did the thing. So based on these discussions and on previous experience, UNIDO has on industrial parks, UNIDO has created, or let's say is developing, a model for green hydrogen clusters development in the countries we would like to work on. So we will focus on industrial clusters, particularly on developing countries and emerging economies. Basically, the goal is to, add local value, because what we want in UNIDO, we know that many countries, in Morocco, Egypt, Chile, they're very interested in producing green hydrogen for exports because they see the great potential that these have. But we also would like to keep some of this capacity, you know, to support that the hydrogen is also used in local industries and also for the local development of the country. So basically, the green hydrogen clusters are industrial clusters where you apply and stimulate the production of green hydrogen and also share in other resources to drive decarbonization, but also to drive new ways of industrializations. And we are, you know, basing ourselves in previous projects on renewables energy and energy efficiency, as well as our experience on industrial parks and industrial parks and some networks that we have, such as the field offices. The model quickly, it has 3 phases. The first phase is the preparation activity, which includes awareness raising, capacity building, stakeholder engagement, but also feasibility studies. You will know that this is very important to do technical, environmental, and economical assessments. And particularly in Morocco with the water, we see that the desalination plants and how these ones are design, this can help to alleviate a little bit the water stress of the different areas. And then, of course, addressing technical policy gaps and finding the financing. Then the second is basically the application, which means producing the green hydrogen, applying it. This will also require some adaptations of processes as well as interconnection of processes. And then finally, the upscaling, which could be, you know, what they're doing in the northern part of Germany, which is creating these networks of valleys, of clusters, of oases, so that this can, you know, have a bigger effect. Finally, to do this, we're currently working on our guidelines for green hydrogen industrial clusters. We're collaborating with Green Lab and New Energy Coalition, which are, New Energy Coalition has the Haven Hydrogen Valley in Netherlands, and Green Lab is one valley in Denmark. But we're also working with DINA, which is the energy agency for Germany, and Future Clean Tech Architects, which they're supporting clean tech also from Germany. So we hope to have this ready in September, do a launch, and then, you know, the next thing will be to start trying to implement it and see how we can do this. So maybe hopefully we can do something in Morocco, in steel, or any other ammonia, or any other company. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Luis. Applause, please. And for sure, we'll be happy to explore what we can do together. By the way, we have Morocco installed a cluster almost 2 years now, and I'm proud also to be one of the founder of this cluster and member of one of its commission. Of course, the idea is, as you explained, Louis, to set up what is requested for this establishment of the ecosystem around the green hydrogen development, from the energy production till the end use and all what is requested on this path. So last but not least, Mr. Murad Kaina, who is the General Manager of the Regional Center of Investment of the region of Gulmi Moadnoun. So we want a few words from you. As we've seen, this region is aiming to be one of the largest hydrogen oasis we expect in the nearest future. So a few words, please, on your perspective. So please, the floor is yours.
Merci Tarek. Je suis très heureux et honoré d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui. Je tiens à remercier profondément et chaleureusement l'ensemble des panélistes pour la pertinence et la qualité des interventions. Je félicite de passage l'équipe organisatrice de ce sommet pour le choix pertinent et judicieux des thèmes et pour la qualité d'accueil et d'animation. À l'issue de 3 jours d'échange, je ne sais pas quoi dire, quoi ajouter de plus par rapport à tout ce qui est dit, à part confirmer le fort potentiel et me réjouir des belles perspectives que promet cette belle région de Gulmi Moadnoun en tant que futur hub d'hydrogène vert. Au jour d'aujourd'hui, une bonne dizaine d'investisseurs, de promoteurs, de développeurs ont déjà manifesté un intérêt pour cette région depuis pratiquement 2 années. Et pour certains d'entre eux, ils ont déjà franchi le premier pas et à la conquête de cette ressource éolienne et solaire permettant de produire une eau qui sera la source d'une nouvelle vie et d'une nouvelle renaissance. Enfin, je renouvelle l'invitation de Madame Bouida pour prévoir la prochaine édition au niveau de la région de Guinée-Moidnoun et vous lance un appel, une invitation pour se rendre au niveau de la région de Ouadnoun pour accompagner toute éventuelle ambition et toute intention de développement d'un projet d'hydrogène vert.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Simorad. Thank you very much. And now the last presentation will be from the industry side. So I will ask Jaco to join, please. And the floor is yours. Thank you.
Alors, mes amis, chers partenaires, chers collègues, je voudrais présenter en anglais parce que simplement c'est plus facile pour moi. Thanks for being here and representing Proton Ventures. I would like to take you through some highlights. It may be a bit repetitive compared to what has been spoken about during the past days and this morning. So the theme was Hydrogen Oasis, and I would like to add some food for thought to take with you when traveling back home later today, or even after the weekend when you spend that here in Marrakesh. I will skip this slide very quickly. The only thing you need to remember is that we're based in the port of Rotterdam, hence the ships. This represents the offices, but they are hardly visible. We're a pretty small company acting on the big stage like today. So let's move on to the next one. An oasis as we know it. And basically when oasis in the Western world is referred to, we think of, for instance, the adventures of Tintin. When he crashes his plane with Captain Haddock in the middle of the desert, they are about to perish because they are led by their optical illusions in the wrong direction. Guess what? Who comes to the rescue? The local desert people, right? These stories tell something for the future as well. The African countries, Morocco in particular, is coming to the rescue. So what is it that differs from what you see in this picture? Of course, it's beautiful. Very natural with respect to what we will envisage in the near future. Basically this. So we have nature providing us the resources, but we have to implement a lot of technology to make that to our use. Whether that's local, whether that's distributed, whether that's centralized, whether it's big scale, whether it's small scale, it all applies. So this is a pretty complex adventure we're engaging into with each other. And it's a really big adventure we're basically diving into. If you look at the world energy consumption, and this is a bit old picture, but I think it's still quite valid. We're using an enormous amount of energy globally. Most of it is actually generated by means of fossil fuels. Now, if we want to, for instance, replace 10% of the current usage by transferring that towards ammonia, I need to multiply the current global world production 15 times. That's enormous. So from 200 million tons, we go to 3 billion. And I've only covered 10%. Of course, it's not only about ammonia, there are other types of energy carriers. But the only thing I want to mention, it's enormous, it's enormous. No one can do this alone. We need to work together. What is the role we face as Proton Ventures in this adventure? We are of the opinion that ammonia is a key factor. And in that respect, it serves multiple markets. Of course, it has a very long history. It caused the first revolution, saving the earth from starvation in the 30s of the last century by being the main component in fertilizers. So it generates food. We are about to see a new revolution, which is relating to energy. Different market, but one and the same commodity. So think about what the effect of the value of the hydrogen has with respect to the value the nitrogen has in this one and the same molecule. The value of the hydrogen is probably estimated, or at least valued higher than the value of the nitrogen. It is single commodity market, hence fertilizers will likely become more expensive. What else is indicated here? It is mentioned a couple of times before, smaller localized scale facilities versus the larger centralized facilities generating the infra for big commodity trade, export, import. Do we need to apply a different approach with respect to which of these markets we are serving? Energy versus agriculture, a small scale versus large scale? Answer is yes, of course we do. Moreover, it really depends on where we are in the world and what the specific application will be. What we do as a small company is we provide ammonia-based solutions for both markets. We have to know that our role may differ. We could be an engineering consultant. In most of the cases, that's where it starts. Sometimes we act as the developer. And occasionally, when it's smaller scale, we could also execute EPCM or even EPC. I pictured a couple of the solutions we're having in our portfolio: storage and handling facilities, small scale production, NOx and N2O abatement, and ammonia decomposition. Let's move on quickly to the high level topic. What is needed in this industry today is we need to think out of the box. So we have many parties who aim for one single solution. There is none. There is no silver bullet. We need to do it all. One of the things with respect to out-of-the-box technology is do we put down on the ground a 2 gigawatt plant in one day? No, we do not. That's at least our belief. Allow for gradual expansion. Start small, prove the concept, and then in that sense, gradually build it up to where you want to end up. This also allows the different building blocks to gradually grow with you, because we all know that there are some bottlenecks in the supply chain, particularly with respect to the electrolysis production capacity. Also, what is interesting to learn is why not using multiple technologies aiming for the same in one and the same facility? Could be different types of electrolyzers. Think in hybrid solutions. What is interesting to see is that we have different hydrogen carriers. We in the ammonia realm, we think that, for instance, liquid organic hydrogen carriers could play a very nice role in being used as a static buffer, not as a transportation means. Thinking out of the box means asking questions, and stupid questions do not exist. There are only stupid answers. The thing is, be curious, try to figure out what is best working. Another thing is when I was educated, it was all about energy efficiency. What we need to learn today is that only counts when it makes commercial sense. That's a bit of a mindset shift, but obviously related to the infinity of renewable with respect to the resources. Now, thinking out of the box in business perspective, this was reiterated yesterday by Kamal Maghoufi of InnoEnergy. We need a different approach. We can't continue working like we did. So shifting from a hard competition approach, we should be embracing cooperation initiatives. A good example is in the pictures here on the slide. You see all the building blocks referring to I would say a large scale export-import setup. And these parties need to work together. And what you could do with respect to changing that business model is not maximizing profits per each of those blocks, but just building it up together and sharing the profit at the end, which means that the project makes really a better chance of becoming viable. What is key, as I mentioned in the beginning, the locals came to the rescue of Tintin. We need local partners. We need local partners. And they need to guide, I would say, the technology providers, the clients, the off-takers, to where it needs to be done, how it needs to be done, what all the local intricacies are. This is key in solving this big challenge. So, who needs to be involved? Simply put, everyone. If one fails, we all fail. This is basically, in a nutshell, the message I wanted to convey to you today. So, thanks for your attention. And hopefully you have a very, very nice rest of the conference, and happy to have a chat with you afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jaco, for this great presentation. I think that, I don't know if we still have a few minutes for taking questions from the ground. We are for sure behind the schedule, but maybe 2 or 3 questions if there is any. So feel free to ask. I see already my friend Anna, and she will, I think, be the moderator for next panel. So I think that we can give a large applause to our panelists for this great presentation. And I will give the floor to Khadija. Thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tarek. Thank you to your very interesting speakers. I've been following and taking notes, actually. Thank you so much for the valuable input you just shared with us. And I will not wrap up because I think we're really short in time. But what I really like to emphasize on is that the need of decarbonization is more European, and the needs of the African continent and Morocco is, as a matter of fact, an African country, is to create jobs, is the livelihoods of the population that will, as the Oasis or other region, but especially the Oasis, since it was the thematic of this session, is to create jobs and to create added value for these regions. So I think it's the responsibility, as I was mentioning in my introduction, is this responsibility of all the stakeholders. So I think even the investors should take this into consideration. It's not just like installing like a green hydrogen or any other renewable energy plant, is also to create a whole ecosystem and a whole industry around. And this is the role, of course, of investors, but as well, and industrials, but it is the responsibility of local authorities to facilitate the thing. And well, I'm not keeping you more on stage because we have another session starting in minutes. But before, we are very nice, and we know that you need to maybe rest a little bit and have a coffee and maybe discuss whatever has been already discussed here around a little coffee. So please, I will just ask you to be brief. We have 10 minutes break, and I will be very happy to host this second last, but no means least session, the one which is very important, speaking of funding and regulations. So thank you, and I'll be waiting for you for the next session. Thank you.